Good morning, welcome. If everyone would take a seat, if you've gotten something to eat, if you're waiting in coffee line, please continue to wait and hopefully you'll get your coffee. We'd like to get started. Thank you for coming out. Our topic today is of vital interest to all of us. We're already being affected deeply by artificial intelligence, algorithms on every website that we go on to and every social media platform feed into what we receive and therefore create a reinforcement cycle about how we view the world, how we view politics and news, religion, and other issues that are important to us in our day. We know that artificial intelligence is going to help make enormous breakthrough with things like cancer research and finding a cure for some of the most pressing illnesses and concerns of our day. Not to mention how it will impact transportation and other industries. But the ramifications are also seismic. Jobs in healthcare, education, and entertainment will change quickly. And the children who come to Messy Church, we had over 80 of them this morning where the Reverend Tim Hamlin baptized his son Silas. They will have jobs that do not even exist right now and that we cannot even imagine. My hope is that AI is not like human intelligence and that we will not be indispensable. Well, we will not be dispensable, and that we will able to continue to provide a vital resource to the world around us in terms of spirituality and community and helping people as they struggle in their life's challenges. So today we are thrilled to have Professor Luciano Floridi here to shed some light on this vital topic. He is the founding director of the Digital Ethics Center at Yale University. His wife, Kia, is a neuroscientist at Yale as well. They were brought from Oxford, where he has studied and taught, and where he studied also in Italy at the University of Bologna, where I had the good fortune to do some academic study this past summer. So we're thrilled to have you with us to address this vital topic. In 2020, Professor Floridi was the most cited living philosopher in the world. And in 2022, he was awarded the Knight of the Grand Cross of the Order of Merit, Italy's most prestigious award. And so siamo molto felici di averti qui. Benvenuto, Professore Floridi.
Grazie. Thank you so much, and grazie. For those of you who don't speak Italian, we will switch to English, just in case anyone was afraid that this would be in Italian or Latin. It will not be. I have a lot of things to tell you, and we don't have much time. So I had to be rather superficial and simplify a lot. Now, since this is a large public, some of you may know quite a bit about what I'm going to talk. To those of you, please, you are in the right place. Forgive, okay? Because what I'm going to say is as good as it can get. So I just got my own hearing here as well. So then if you don't hear me, these things are useful. So, with a bit of extra voice, as if those of you who have been exposed to this technology, perhaps sometimes professionally, know a lot about it, please forgive me, because I will be superficial and simple-minded. Some of the things that I'm going to show you are also for those of you who have not been exposed to that, don't quite know yet how deep, as we heard before, the Reverend reminded us, the revolution is. It's everywhere. It's changing your life, not someone else's life. And it's changing it here, not in some kind of infosphere or cyberspace for the kids who are doing this and that. No. It's you and your life that is being changed as we speak. I'll try to show you what I mean by providing a couple of examples. But the whole point is looking at the ethical aspects of this. Oh, final premise, I used to be Catholic. That is a double problem, Catholic and used to be. Forget about the Catholic, used to be. I'm still looking for faith. I've lost mine, but I'm not someone who believes in the non-existence of God. I hope the double negative is helpful here. I do not believe in the non-existence of God. With that premise out of the way, so you know where I'm coming from, I'd like to start with something that actually I present to my students even in different contexts. It happens to be very appropriate here. The sound should be loud enough. I'll give you just a couple of examples, sampling this through. And of course, you have heard this before, so it's not about either the singing or certainly not about the words. It gets better. Final sample. This is entirely 100% synthetic. Those voices do not exist. The orchestra does not exist. The choir does not exist. All that exists is this. Literally, the 3 lines that took me to generate that music. Thank you. That was exactly the reaction. If you don't get the wow, I'm not explaining it well enough. So let me try this again. I'll show you another couple of examples. There is nothing behind this. It's not that there was some music changed, modified. It's not that someone was singing and they took their voice and nada, 0 digits, a piece of software that gets this as a text and transform that into music. It's called text to whatever you like. I'll show you a few more things in a moment, but this text to is what we use ordinarily, for example, to produce some music, which was pretty good, and it gets even better. So this is the world in which we live. This digital revolution is a new continent. We haven't been there, and we are exploring it as we speak. Now, it's an empty continent, to make sure, and it's a continent we need to build. One of the points I want to convey to you is that it is our responsibility, 100%, to design this new world. There is no such thing as AI does this and AI does that. It's human beings behind the technology that decide what is being done and what will not. That piece of music, well, I put those 3 lines, and I decided it was going to be that rather than something else. And what I do with that, and is it the right kind of solution for what I need, etc., is entirely our responsibility. So if there is one message to take home, you can start checking your email or whatever on your phone for the next half an hour, because that is the message. 100% responsibility, totally, completely, and uniquely human, that will stay human forever. Now, this is not good news. So that's fine. So no, because of course, the more powerful this technology becomes, the higher the level of responsibility, intelligence, understanding, insight, involvement needs to be. So it would be, in a way, nice to go back home and say, you know what, AI is going to do it. I can sleep soundly because all I need to do is to train this piece of technology to do the right thing left and right. Unfortunately, that's not the case. So this is the quick sort of introduction. This map will come back. I will tell you a little bit more about what are we talking about. A step back. What kind of technology is this? And because we're close to lunch, it will be very simple and trivial. The computer scientist in the room, close your eyes. Ethics, that's what we need to talk about, and regulations. Maybe if we have time, depending, a line or two about jobs, because it's one of the things that we heard before, but let's see how it goes. So AI as a divorce. So if you read anything, New York Times included, The Economist, you will hear people selling this as this new technology as a marriage. A marriage between some kind of intelligence, call it biological intelligence, or even better, and engineering, an artifact. You put the artifact, you put some kind of intelligence together, and sooner or later this marriage will generate what we call artificial intelligence. Terrible idea. It's actually a divorce. Oh, I might be completely wrong, by the way. Yeah? So we'll come back maybe in 5 years if the Reverend wants me again and he's not fed up with this to see whether I was right or wrong. The marriage is the narrative you get from anyone who is trying to sell you this technology. The divorce is, shall we say, what they don't really get yet, but that's why you need a philosopher from Yale. The divorce is between agency, the ability to do something with success in view of a goal, say driving, for example, or playing chess, or solving any problem you want to have, and the need to be intelligent in doing so. I'll repeat this because it's one of the fundamental points. You got something that does stuff in the world, for example, like San Francisco, Waymo, etc., driverless car. They just passed the 100,000 miles, driverless cars. Now, if you drive a car, you need, myself included, exercise some intelligence. I know that some people don't look like, but yes, you should have that kind of intelligence, especially parking. But back to us, well, actually, that driverless car does not have to. And if you want to have an exercise at home, just play chess with your mobile phone. Zero intelligence, and trust me, you want to lower the ability of that program because you will win anyone here. So zero intelligence, great ability in doing tasks. That divorce, never before. If in the past you needed to get something done, it was either done with your intelligence, someone else's intelligence, some people's intelligence, animal intelligence. Your dog barking because someone he does not know into the house. But it had to be biological intelligence of some kind. Today, we have zero agents who, or which can do things without having to have any understanding, any purpose, any sense of what is right or wrong, true or false. What am I doing this for? Nada. Just some sheer ability, agency, as zero intelligence. How did it happen? Well, this is where we moved in the past. When I used to teach this stuff a long, long time ago in the 90s, AI was a branch of mathematical logic. To put it simply, is if, then. If you make that move, I make this move. I'm oversimplifying a lot, but roughly speaking. Today is no longer about deduction, it's about association. Lots and lots of data on one side correspond to that piece of information on the other. So this is the old way of doing AI. You got the data, the ingredients, you got the algorithm, the recipe, put them together, and you get your carbonara. Simple, yeah? Today, you give them the data, the ingredients, you show it the carbonara, and he learns to cook the thing. He learns how to use the recipe. Now that is extraordinary. You show to the simple piece of software lots and lots and lots of pictures of cat, and that piece of software from that moment onwards will recognize any cat, whether that cat is a cartoon with one leg, 3 legs, is a poor cat missing an eye, it will recognize cat. So intelligence, no, because if it has to recognize a dog, you have to do that again. And a zebra, and a horse, and you name it. It doesn't recognize animals, it recognizes that pattern. And that pattern is a dog or is a cat. So it gets even better. This is with some supervised or unsupervised human being intervening, but actually in something called reinforced machine learning, reinforced cooking, if you like, all you need to do is to show them the carbonara. And it gets the data and the recipe. As I said, the computer scientists in the room, please close your eyes, don't listen because it's oversimplified, but it's not far from the truth, okay? So we move from AI being a piece of, or a branch of cognitive science. Let's try to create something intelligent, no matter how little, The intelligence of a spider would be amazing already, a mouse, to AI as a branch of engineering. I don't care whether it's intelligent or not, as long as it solves the problem that I need to be solved. Old joke, do submarine swim? That is not the point. They don't swim, they just do the job. Airplanes don't fly like birds, but they take me from A to B. So we move, therefore, also from academia to industrial research and development. This is where I want to show you another couple of examples. You know how to cook the carbonara without actually being in the kitchen, so to speak. 3 lines. Produce a hand pours milk from a steel whisk into a cup of coffee on a table with a blurred kitchen background. That's what you get. Again, nothing behind but 3 lines of a script, or if you like, a command, a prompt. In the evening, a car drives down the road, etc., etc. Gorgeous sunset, serene scenery. That's what you get. The piece of software knows also what it looks like to be driving and looking in the rear mirror. Now, this is close to, I know this is the wrong place where to use the word, so I use it with some care, attention, a miracle. It's very, very strange. Remember, that road does not exist. The sunset never happened. That rear mirror is nothing. It's just a piece of software that has learned how to transform text into. And this is something we played with Kia last night. A paper, you put it into this piece of software and says, please, literally, PDF, drop it into the software, generate a podcast. I repeat once again, those voices do not exist at all. 0. Not that someone's voice has been cloned. Nada. The dialogue never took place. The laughing, everything is 100% synthetic. Now today, you can generate your podcast with one click, and trust me, it's elementary. Take the file, drop it, click, wait 5 minutes, podcast generated. Now, that is the world in which we live. And that is the world of yesterday, because that's what is already commercial, available, one click away, free. So what is actually boiling or being cooked in the labs everywhere? Well, just wait until tomorrow. So this is the future of AI, it seems to me, like a divorce between the ability to do these things. That piece of software does not understand what I'm saying. It has no idea. It will generate whatever you put in. It will generate that dialogue. The voices are those, no, she and he, etc. And actually, in the podcast, she gets it much better than here. I think it's done on purpose. So, how did we got here? What happened in the last 20 years that I was, I don't know, distracted? So these are some of the things that have actually happened, but I want to call your attention to only one. Devices per person, time spent online, networks, statistics, computational power. Everything has been skyrocketing, like straight. The most important bit I like to share with you is this. You must have seen this picture or something like this picture many times. And normally people point out the top right. That is not the amazing thing. The top right shows you how much data we have today. And it's zettabyte, things in terms of gazillions. No, it doesn't matter, just stuff, a lot of stuff. Now, it seems that this year or next year, we will probably pass the 200 zettabyte, whatever that is. Those zettabyte include all the manuscripts in the world ever written, all the words ever uttered by a human being. Alexandria Library, the Vatican Library, whatever you said yesterday on WhatsApp, okay? Make everything, say 200 zettabyte, from the time we scratch something on the wall of a cave until right now, 200. When did we generate all that 200? yesterday. That is the point I want to show you. That's what you should be looking at. Bottom left, that is astounding. 2010, maybe, these are a colleague from Berkeley, maybe they're wrong. Maybe they're wrong by 10 years. Maybe they're wrong by 50% of the data. But it's yesterday. 2010 means that all the data in the world, if you make it 100%, all the data we ever generated as human beings on this planet has been created by us in the last quarter of a century. That tsunami of data, that ocean of data, is our own production. And that's where this AI swims. So when you're surprised, like, how can they possibly do this? Well, we are scuba diving in this data, if you like. We are analog entities. But the same experience you have had at the supermarket, when you look at the can of beans, and that code is not for your eyes, it's for the machine to scan. That's what I'm talking about. This 200 zettabyte of an ocean of data is for the machines to navigate, to swim, to enjoy. Imagine dolphins, okay? It's their environment, it's not ours. When you go home tomorrow, tonight, and see all those green and red lights go, that is machine-to-machine creation of data, and is entirely for their own use. I was talking to the CEO of Airbus, Boeing, Airbus, some years ago, and he said, Luciano, a couple of years ago, we realized that airplanes are computers with wings. We are a data company. Yes, we are producing airplanes, but what really is the business, the added value in our company, is what we do with the data. The rest is just business. So how did it happen that we generated agents, software, apps that are successful, interact with the world, deliver what they're supposed to deliver, in view of some goal, when we do the same thing at zero intelligence, we crash. Think about driving, okay? Driverless car, zero intelligence, very successful. Luciano, blindly going around like an idiot, crash immediately. So the objection here is, look, if they are really not intelligent, how did it happen? Well, I already gave you one particular good reason. They swim in a digital sea where they are the proper entities. What we're doing, and that's something that starts getting close to the ethics now, is because these agents, this piece of software, this AI needs to succeed, you need to build the world around it. You need to give it, for example, 10,000 pictures of a cat. Then it will recognize cat. When in the 90s we were dealing pretty much with the same kind of idea, neural networks and something called Prolog at the time, we knew the theory, but we didn't have the computational power, the amount of data, what did I tell you, in the last 20 years, the money and the business models to generate all this. So what has happened in the past 20 or 25 years is that we have moved, all of us, increasingly within a world that is hybrid. It's made of analog and digital realities. You cook your chicken in your house, and the chicken, of course, is in the kitchen, analog, but maybe you're just streaming some music. You may be reading the recipe on your iPad. Someone gets into the kitchen and asks you, are you online, are you offline? And your answer, please, now on to you are from the 90s. Because that was a question we asked 30 years ago. Today, you live on life. It's a hybrid. Of course, I'm both online and online, off and on. I don't connect anymore. Anyone here with a mobile on, you are being geotagged as we speak, 24/7. They know exactly where you are. So how did it happen that we were able to create machines that are so successful as zero intelligence? I told you, we transformed the world so that slowly it becomes easier for those machines to succeed. I'll give you an example, actually two. Strawberries, and these are visual examples that are a bit more intuitive because inevitably you have to use robots. I cannot do examples with software and digits. It's not for us to see. But this is how you collect strawberries today. You don't build a robot that goes around like Luciano collecting the good strawberries and the bad strawberries. Is it mature? Is it not? You reshape the whole strawberry field around the robot. And then the robot is very successful. In fact, infinitely more successful than any group of people. This is how you adapt the environment to the technology. That's how you collect strawberries these days, unless you want to have fun with the kids. Or warehousing. Warehousing is, of course, completely dominated by the technology. This is another example of how we build warehouses around the robots. If you look at this space, the space is meant for the robots. It's not meant for the human being who is behind the barrier, protected. It's not his environment. The environment belongs to the robots. So next time you hear someone downtown say, we need driverless buses, remember, someone somewhere is thinking, how do we restructure the whole environment in such a way that driverless buses will work here? And if you can't do that, they will not work. A driverless car, without the network, without the sensors, and without all the other elements in that technology, geotagging, etc., is a piece of junk. So if you have that mansion somewhere in the middle of nowhere, stay away. So this is the kind of world that we're building. We build a whole box around the simple abilities of a robot. No one does the dishes as a dishwasher in their right mind. In the middle of the kitchen. You build a whole environment. This is a mistake. Sometimes you hear, we're building robots that do things that, no. Have you seen those strawberries? We didn't build robots to collect them. We just reshaped the strawberry field to fit the robot. And this is what you want, assuming that you do the dishes, as I do. An arm that puts the dishes, the dirty one, in the dishwasher. So transforms the whole kitchen into a space that, again, is for the robot to operate with. Now, if you transform that into what happens today, this is where we used to be. Grandma used to walk into the computer. The computer was around her. Computational abilities meant using a screwdriver, changing bulbs. Her daughter walked out, and the computer became something that was in front of her. Her granddaughter has walked back in, and now she knows that the computer, so to speak, doesn't work when it's failing. Otherwise, business as usual. When do you know that your mobile phone is not working? When it's not connected. Otherwise, the normal default position is that I can do my shopping wherever I want. So in this world, obviously we are sharing, and this is from San Francisco, we're sharing our environment with these new forms of agency. That's the ethical issue. Once you have agency in the world, the next question becomes immediately, what's right and what's wrong? Are we designing the right technology? Are we transforming the world in such a way that it is for the machines so that they can succeed in their world, or are we also forgetting that we are going to live in the same world? The pedestrian, my old car. Now, the bad news and the good news, you are not supposed to be able to read this. No, this is not a test. Just something for your wall, if you are a university professor, to remind people that we've been here for the past 60 years. 60. The first debate about the ethics of AI is 1960. 2 articles, Science, super famous, Wiener, the father of cybernetics, call it robotics, and Samuelson, the father of machine learning. The 2 debate about what we're debating today. So what happened? Well, why in 60 years you guys in academia haven't done anything about this? Well, because no one cared. Because until yesterday, until I show you what is happening here, This was not headlines. In the 80s and 90s, people like me were struggling to find a job. Not that there was not a pressing issue, but it wasn't pressing on everybody's skin. It was pressing on academic skin, which doesn't count. So in the last 60 years, we've been developing a lot of thinking about this. It's not a new thing, but finally we're getting there as a whole movement. And there is a lot of concern. Let me show you what happens between 2023 and 2024 in the business world in the United States. These are a few numbers. Displacement. The concern was 5% among top management, 9% the year after. Data security, 17, today 46. Transparency, how do they work? How do they decide to pick up their strawberry as opposed to the other? From 9 to 35. Response accuracy, meaning, do they actually make mistakes? Plenty. These are statistical tools, remember, they're not like your pocket calculator. Your pocket calculator either gives you the right answer or is broken. Okay, so 2 plus 2 will always be 4 or nada. These things, every now and then, 22. They're called hallucinations. They just have to give you an answer. And they will invent something if they don't know. So, mission critical, never. A nuclear power station run by this kind of stuff, insane. Cyber war, insane. Anything that you can back home when you go and do your business and is very highly sensitive, do not do this without knowing how statistically probable the answer is. Not certain. So response accuracy, well, moved from 7% to 36%. Implementation cost, oh, it's all free anyway. Not really, 53%. So there's a lot of concern. What are the concerns based on? Why are we worried? I'll give you some worries and some, the bad news and the good news. This is a simple way of remembering where to place all the concerns you read in the newspapers. And it's a bit funny because normally we just think in terms of the one in the middle. Well, you misuse this stuff. It's unfair, discrimination, it's unethical. Yeah, and that is huge. You must have heard of bias, for example. You use these things to hire people, and all of a sudden they hire only people from Bologna, like, for example. I say, well, which would be good news, but not necessarily for everybody in this room. So bias is a huge problem because, of course, these things are trained on past data. And the past data are full of biases. That's one problem. So misuse of this, obviously, on a daily basis. You go to a bank and the bank doesn't say, like, sorry, but that mortgage, I can't give it to you. Why? Well, because you know John Smith. I'm not John Smith, I'm the other John Smith. Well, sorry, but that says here John Smith. So. But the other two are normally underappreciated, and they are equally ethical issues. One is the overuse, and at least from a European perspective, but I'm learning the lesson that, no, we're not doing so much better here. Imagine, it will never happen, but imagine for a moment that some government decides to invest millions, everybody has to use this thing, and they spend like 100 million, $1 billion buying everything. Nobody knows how to use it. It's going to be rusting somewhere, piles of computers, software never used, stuff gets late tomorrow, locked in, overuse, something that could have been done perfectly well with the old tools, but you have to be fancy. There was a time when, of course, everybody was doing a lot of intelligent work, but we decided that you had to show that you were doing it with AI. So even if you use an Excel program, don't say that. It's going to be AI driven. Now, that is advertisement, but the overuse is massive. But also omission, and this is the right place where not to explain that as a problem. When you could do something, but you're not doing it, and that is something wrong. The medical sector is hugely in debt in terms of not doing the right thing because we don't have regulations. We don't have ethical frameworks. And so in doubt, you just don't do it. If you go to any convention where they show you what AI can do in the medical sector, it looks like Star Trek. It's science fiction. It's amazing what you could be doing today to lower human pain and save lives. We're not doing it, literally, because there is no framework. People are afraid of making mistakes and they're getting the usual lawyer afterwards. So overuse, misuse, and underuse, these are all huge areas of problems. Let me give you some examples in the context of content production. And I'm going to go quickly because we don't have much time. Copyright, plagiarism, trade secrets, ownership and authorship about what I just showed you, moral rights, who owns that kind of stuff, liability, bias and discrimination, misinformation, think about the current elections, disinformation, hallucinations, like, oops, I thought it was 22, not 4. Privacy, of course, your data, and content moderation and censorship. Who decides what flies and what not? These are all huge problems. Of course, we also have the good side. You can do so much more with so much less. If we were to leverage this technology properly used can do 3 things at once. And I'm not being the philosopher, so optimistic guy. It can be good for business, good for society, and good for the environment. It's a triangle we can bring home. But you need a lot of human intelligence. You need to have a clear vision of how to develop the right technology. If you don't, then it might actually fail at least 2 out of 3, possibly 3 out of 3. The environment is going to suffer, society is not going to benefit, and even business is going to go ba-boom because the bubble here is growing. Who has not forgotten the dot-com bubble? No. Or only yesterday, everybody was buying cryptocurrencies, and then poof, it's happening also here. So you can do more with less, meaning good for the environment, good for society, good for your business. You can do things differently. You can change and reinvent what happens in your company. Maybe some things, some processes have to be completely transformed. Not for today, this is not the right place, but when I talk to the Google, the Microsoft, the IBM of the world, the main point is not just innovation, which is one leg, okay? It's integration, the other leg. If you buy these things and you just throw them at your business without integrating this and therefore modifying what's going on in your business, you're not being competitive. You didn't lose the competition game, okay? You just keep in the game, but you're not winning. The winner is the company that will integrate successfully, therefore changing what they're doing inside. Remember Airbus, we are a data company. That is the kind of change of mentality that has to happen here. And then you can do things for the first time. Innovation, cooperation, things that you never tried before because it was too costly, too complicated, too difficult, we didn't have enough people. For the first time that can happen. Now, all this has led, and we're coming to the end, to a couple of slides more, and we close. So all this is, of course, the ethical debate that we have had for a long time. I told you, since the 60s, basically the previous generations of professors, not me, the one that now I have as supervisor and tutor. So clearly it has made a difference. When you hear Sam Altman, for example, of OpenAI, say, you need to regulate this industry, please. First of all, is 100% hypocritical, of course, just saying this for the press. But secondly, you only need to check what has already happened. If you look at this, it's probably too small for some of you. The bottom left is 2016. So it's been a while that we started regulating the sector. As of 2022-23, we had hundreds of bills around the world. And of course, we Europeans, we in the United States, think that that's where the world is. But there's plenty of other world out there. Japan, South Korea, Canada, Brazil. And they're all moving. They're all doing the right thing. So this has been happening for a while. And 3 things, since otherwise you don't get the lecture. And what do I need to remember from this? There are three things that have made a big difference in the last few years. Here, of course, the executive order by President Biden, telling the agencies what to do with all this technology. It's a recommendation, it's not a piece of legislation, but it has sent things in the right direction. At the global level, the European level of the Council of Europe, which of course, no one in this room confuses with the European Council. This, obviously, otherwise life will be easy. The European Council is part of the European Union. The Council of Europe has everybody and his uncle in it, Russia included, okay? So it's Europe as a geographical entity, and it's about human rights only. The convention has been approved and it's been watered down to such a level that it's completely useless, so you can forget about it. And then the AI Act. That is the piece of legislation that has been approved in Europe. Anyone who does business with Europe, with European data or with European companies, has to comply. And that is the sort of headache we're having at the moment here in the United States. How do I comply with a huge market so that I can actually sell my services? Over there, an interesting bit of information just for you, just for today, is that we are working as we speak between Brussels and not Washington, but the many, many states that are passing their own legislation. Connecticut is going to be the second state that will have overall legislation about AI. Wanted to be first, but the governor wasn't quite sure, so we left Colorado go first. So Colorado is the first, Connecticut is the second, and the other ones are coming. So we will have a state-level legislation in the United States about AI, what's right, what's wrong, compliance, etc., risk, and so on, in some kind of harmony, you would hope, transatlantic with the European AI Act. So, final thought for maybe a couple of questions. The last thing. I told you the first message to bring home, so to speak, the take-home single line was human responsibility. Whatever you hear, whatever technology will be like tomorrow and the day after and in 1,000 years, it will be us. I said, good news and bad news, because you can't wash your hands. At the same time, it's not about innovation. I said, but all that was, I thought that was the big deal. No, it isn't. The real big deal is what you do with the innovation. So with a bit of a catchphrase, it's not digital innovation, but the governance of the digital that will determine your success as an individual, as a family, as a company, as a society. What you do with it. Innovation, a dime a kilo. Like, it doesn't cost anything. Look at what has done Apple in terms of innovation in the last decade. You buy the new startup. You maybe invest in something. What you do with it, that is where the difference is. So let me give you one example. Meta, old Facebook. They missed the train. They had all the money in the world, all the engineers in the world, anything you may possibly imagine, and they put all their money, so to speak, on the metaverse. Remember, maybe last year or a year and a half ago, that was the flavor of the year. This conference, this moment, would have been on the metaverse had we had a meeting a couple of years ago. That was a mistake. The governance of the digital was wrong-headed. It has taken 2 years, even for a company like Meta, to change direction. And that is costly in terms of success, competition, but also those three things with which I close. How good this is for society, how good it is for the environment, and how good it is for your business. That is the triangle we want to keep in mind. Thank you.
Professor Floridi, that was magnificent. Brief question, then I'll pass the microphone around, but the questions must be super brief. I just want to ask you, what impact do you think this is going to have on faith communities, and what should faith communities be doing now to prepare people responsibly for future growth of AI?
That was a trap. No, this is a huge, and I'm not just because I'm here, is a huge question. So let me tell you the way I hope and would like to see things developing, and then how they're probably going to go. How they're going to go, there's going to be a lot of rubbish around, a lot of rubbish. If you think that you are being polluted, bombarded, I can't take it anymore, just wait until it doubles and triples. In terms of wrong messages, wrong relationship with spirituality, mistaken understanding of what it means to be human, the exceptionalism nature of humanity, no matter whether you are religious or not, we're still an oddball, one way or another. No, all that will unfortunately suffer probably quite a bit. That's the nasty picture. At the same time, if there's been one good time, one good moment to reconsider who we are and what we're doing on this planet, what this is it. So this technology, it seems to me that the good news is that it's providing us with a clear sense of what we are not. I'm not special because I can produce a podcast, because that can be done by a machine. I'm not special because I can drive a car, because that can be done by a machine. So as long as we find in ourselves something exceptional and special as a plus, as something more, something better, this technology should teach us humbleness. So the good news, if you like, is that we could start considering ourselves as a minus, as something that is constantly missing something that is incomplete. Not because I am better than, but because I'm worse than a dog, I have the life that I have. Because I cannot live here and now 24/7, but I'm thinking about my pension. That makes me human. It's because, as I was joking with my postdoc yesterday, it's because I complain about these tools, that they don't quite work in the way I would like to, that I'm human. Because I'm always missing something. Now, they're missing something, that emptiness, that incompleteness, that work in progress. These tools should really teach us. So instead of going out tomorrow and say, this is a moment, some of you might have this before, we are at the center of the universe, and then Copernicus came, and we are not. We are at the center of the animal kingdom, and then Darwin came, and we are not. We are at the center of our human space, and then Freud came, and we are not. Today, we are at the center of the information sphere. No, we are not. So maybe one thing that I would like to see happening from this is that, and forgive me, this is a bit dramatic, but we need to learn to wash the feet of the other people. And that comes from my previous background, as you can tell. As long as you think you are at the center, that is remarkably sinful. And again, I'm using the words very carefully here. Once you put yourself at the periphery, for the other, in the service of, care for, then we finally reach a maturity of humanity that has been thinking about himself as if we were a teenager, as if the party was always about us. Well, these technologies, hopefully, will teach us the ultimate humbling lecture. That would be fantastic.
Great presentation. Thank you very much. What puzzles me a little bit is you talk about regulation. There are people, as you mentioned, Sam Altman has suggested we have regulation. Elon Musk. You don't know where they're coming from. They all have self-interest. However, you said Connecticut is implementing its own AI. Colorado has. From my layman's perspective, I find that is impossible to manage in a 50-state scenario because the data leaks in the same manner. Sorry, I just want to give. Yeah. I want to wrap it up. The data will leak from the European Union and different countries. How do you harmonize all that? How do you control it? I mean,
thank you. That is a crucial question. First of all, the good news. There will be plenty of work, as you can tell. So if you are in the legal profession, your future is assured because the litigations, the incomprehension. I was just at a meeting of the board of MasterCard, and the main concern was contracts. How do we make sure that the contracts we are going to sign are in compliance with that fragmented legislation that is everywhere? So the bad news is that a lot of work will have to be done in order to harmonize all this. Now, let me just give you another little piece of good news. The state-level senators are not working independently. They all work together, as you know. And they are trying, funny thing is that the Europeans will say, oh, look, they just make photocopies of each other's legislation. It's a plan. The closer the Connecticut and the Colorado and the Texas and the California legislation about all this is, the more a photocopy of each other is, the easier it will be for business to move from one place to the other, from Los Angeles to New York. So it's a feature, it's not a bug. Now, they're doing a good job. So reassuringly, the harmonization in the United States at the state-by-state level is happening. But it would be nice if politics, capital P, did his own job. If Washington, so to speak, and the people at the federal level were active as opposed to constantly fighting each other. Now, on this point, there is a bit of a sort of consensus, but again, I can't tell you too much also publicly, but maybe after a coffee, we're not going anywhere at the moment. Of course, there are other issues like the presidential elections, but I wouldn't hold my breath. It didn't happen for data protection. The data protection legislation in the United States is state by state, and it's been quite a success, but a nightmare for anyone who wants to do business with the United States. So their fragmentation is something we should be working together towards, but together, bipartisan. Anyone still thinking, my game, my win, you lose, and that's the only way, well, we're not going to get there.
Yeah, misinformation, disinformation, and manipulation have been around forever. All the way back to the town square, published in newspapers, printed on radio and all that. The only way we have defeated that in the past is by using that technology against itself. I've been working on AI for 50 years, and AI is the only way we're going to beat AI. What do you think? How do you comment on that?
I think there's a great step forward. It's a solution. It's not the only solution we need. So I would have a complementary view in terms of virus, antivirus, okay? The more your computer gets virus, the more the companies that provide the defense against the virus. Disinformation, misinformation, manipulation on one hand, AI will help on the other. So AI becomes also part of the solution, not just part of the problem. Together with that, a little bit of firm legislation about those who actually spread all that rubbish. And once again, the good news, there are not many. Don't you go out of this room thinking, oh, the sources of disinformation and misinformation are endless, legion, to be more biblical. No, they're not. The actual production of disinformation and misinformation in the United States, but not only in Europe, goes back to a dozen sources, 15. Now, we know exactly where they come from. And normally, they are not your average kid in a garage. It's well-funded, foreign, etc. You know the picture. So all that, obviously, we are participating in the problem, because who has not clicked on something to be told, look, that was not right, that was not correct, retreat. AI is part of the solution, yes. Legislation can be on our side, yes. Imagine, final analogy here, imagine going to the supermarket, buying some mushroom. You buy some mushrooms, and they're poisonous. At the moment, we blame the customer. We say, oh, customers should be more educated, they should be more critical. How come that you are being fooled by it? It would be like being blamed for having bought poisonous mushrooms at the supermarket. There are two other stages where AI can help enormously: production and distribution. Someone is producing these mushrooms, and someone is distributing these mushrooms. We need to intervene there as well. If you have the whole chain, production, distribution, consumption, plus AI on our side, clean air. And we can do it. This is totally doable today, not tomorrow. We have the resources, the intelligence, the technology, the will to do it. So I would be moderately optimistic about the future.
Professor, thank you so much. We've got to call it, but if we have any other questions, please see me right away. Write your question. We've got a podcast taking place momentarily, and we'll try to ask the questions during that. Thank you all for coming out, and thank you for an incredible talk today.
Thank you. That was fantastic. This is yours.